Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to build something more complicated than before because we are going to build the Pong game. If you don't know what is a Pong game, that's the game of the Pong that we are going to create. And the only libraries that we are going to use is Pygame to create a window, to create all the logics of our game. So Pong is a game, as you know. And also we need the random library just to get some random values. But we start from the very beginning. So first of all, import Pygame. The next thing we need to do, import random. As you see, we need to install the Pygame. So install package Pygame. Whenever you are using another IDE, you should go like pip install Pygame in your terminal. That's all that you need. Okay, whenever it's going to be installed, we need to initialize our Pygame. So pygame.init, and we initialize our Pygame. The next thing, we are going to create some screen setup. And to create something like that, we need screen width. We also need screen height. We need a screen, and it will be pygame.display.set mode. And there we'll assign some values. And the last thing that we need is like pygame.display.set caption, and it's our title. We'll call it Pong. As a screen width, we'll make, for example, 600. It's up to you what screen width and height you are going to use. And 400 as a height. And as a Pygame display set mode, we need to make the tuple with screen width and also with the screen height. Okay, so we created our screen. Of course, the next thing that we need is to remember that values. But before we move on, we need to create some constants, and it will be screen width, and it will be for 600, and screen height, and it will be 400. And right now we can also use it right there. So with height, and it's all up to us. The next thing that we are going to use, there will be some kind of constants that later on will help us to build our code. And here we'll need paddle width. So we've got two paddles, and to make them the same, and each time whatever we would like to make it bigger or smaller, we will do that in the constants because of one and very, very important thing. Whenever we are creating constants, we change the values only in one place, and it's going to work in the whole code. That's why constants are that important in creating bigger application. Of course, whenever we are creating big application, we should split it in some files. In our case, we'll focus only in the one file, but also I will show you how to create the classes inside the Python. So without further ado, we need a paddle height, and that will be, for example, 80. The next thing will be ball size, because we are going to have a ball there. Paddle speed, how fast it should just move, for example, 8. We need also FPS. We need also score font size. It will help us to show the score in the one font. You don't have to then look for the code to look for that score font size and then change it. Maybe you'll change the wrong value. So we'll set it right there. And we'll need black, so as RGB, and white, and also it will be as RGB color. Okay, so we are created our constants. There is also our constants, part screen, and there will be part rest. I know that we can also make them together, but to make it more predictable, I will show you in that way. Okay, so whenever we created everything, we are going to start from the small part of our game. So we'll create the class that will represent the paddle. And as you know, in Python, to create the classes, you just class paddle, and that's all. As a paddle is a naming convention is that you should start it with uppercase character. So you cannot just go like that because it's for the variables that we've got right here, for example, as a screen. Okay, so paddle, and going there, we need def and init function, so init our class, and we need self and x there. Self is mandatory in the all functions that we are created inside classes. I hope you know that. If no, don't worry. In the description you will find the course about Pythons. A self or from x equals x, self, okay, self from y equals y, but here, because we are creating the paddle, and the x will be the x value that we are going to pass over there. The only thing that we need to just move the paddle is the y-axis. That's why we need to create some calculation over here. We've got our screen side, and we need to just calculate them to see if everything's work inside our paddle. So imagine we have to check where our paddle is right now. So we created some kind of options to cut it for a half, and then we are being able to know where our y, so our center, is from our paddle. Self width equals paddle width. Also we need self height. We need paddle height. And the last thing, so that's speed, and it's equal to paddle that's speed. And that's the thing that we need to initialize each time that we are going to create our Pong game. So with that paddle initialized, we need to have move up, move down, and with the Pygame, we need to draw the object. So right now, we are going to focus on that three functions. So first is definition of move up. And as always, we need that self. I will just go there. And we need self.y. Whenever we are moving, for example, up and down with that speed, we know how fast, so how many pixels we are moving, and we know where we are at the beginning, and then we are going to get the minus equals solve that speed. So we are referring to that value. Okay, solve that y, and it equals to max 0 solve that y. And that's the thing that we need to know. Why max of that self.y? Because we need to know where is the top bottom corner of our application. So we are not going to move infinitely. We will just stop over there. Of course, whenever we've got move up, we need move down. And here we are going to create self.y plus equals self.speed, and self.y, if you understand correctly, it's minimum value. But here we are going to calculate the screen height with the self.height, so from our paddle height. And as a second argument, there we are going to create the self.y, so our paddle sensor. Okay, so we know whenever we can move up and move down. Right now, it tells you like nothing, but don't worry, we need to initialize the things that later on, whenever we are creating the game logic, it will be so easy for you to understand. So def draw, as I mentioned before, we need self, and the second argument will be screen, that will screen the paddles there. And Pygame, there we need to go to the draw, it will go into rectangle. And inside the screen, it will be color of white. This third argument is where to screen, self.x, self.y, self.width, and self.height. And that's the fourth arguments that we need to draw our paddle inside our Pygame. Okay, we created our paddle, and whenever we would like to draw it, we can easily draw it right there. With the paddle, to make our game work, with also the ball. So we'll create clearly simply the class of the ball, and it will be first we need to reset our ball. Why we need it? And that function we are going to create because each time that ball has to, for example, reset whenever we score the point. So we'll not have like 100 or 1,000 of balls, but we'll be only with that one ball. Reset self. As you can see, we've got one usage. Oh, go there. And we need self.x equals screen width times 2 minus ball size and by 2. The same we need with the x value, so we can copy and paste, but here we are going to make the y value, sorry, y, not x, and screen height over there, and everything stays the same. Whenever we are going to reset, we need self.speed from the x, and you know it's going like up, down, and also left and right our ball. So we are creating the speed of our ball. I guess, and I checked that the best speed for our resolution, so 600 or 400, so our screen size is the best, like 5. And to make it go there or there, we are going to have random.choice, and we created 1 or -1. The same, we are going to create the y speed and random.choice -1 and 1. And imagine we've got our ball, it's reset and is going to the main screen, to the center, and we don't know if we'd go like up and down or left or right. That's why we are creating that random speed, and that speed will be of that ball from the very beginning, how and where that ball going to go. Okay, we've got our reset, and the next thing that we need is to move our ball. Oh, come on. Move and solve. Okay, we've got our move. So that x, and we are going to get that, so that speed x, so that y plus equals so that speed y. And it's all to move our ball. Of course, we need to also bounce our ball from top and the bottom. And to check it, we need if so that y is greater or smaller than 0, or so that y plus ball size. In that manner, we need to check it is bigger than or equal to the screen size, screen height. Okay, we've got all it over there. I need to move there. We need to create the solid speed of y times equals -1. So whenever we are going to the, for example, left, we need to go to the right. That's why we need to change the direction. Oh, I misspelled that twice. To the opposite direction. That is the current. So whenever it's going up or down, we are going to have it in the opposite way. So whenever it's bouncing from the top, going to the top, it reaches the top level of our screen. It should go bottom. So that's why we are checking if with that, so that move and so that y and the ball size with the height the same whenever it's going down and it's nearly touching the bottom. We need to change the direction so it bounces to the top. Okay, so we created the logic of our ball and the paddle. The next thing that we need to do whenever we've got our ball and paddle is to create the player logic. So we start to creating our game. First of all, we need player, for example, 1 equals score. So we'll just create some kind of constants about our players. So we know that our player is like at the same level. And we need the font for that players. So it will be Pygame, that font is like that. None, score, font size, none. So, and not that is here. That's why we need that score font size that we are going to use over there with our score font. So we've got, I will just make some comment. So we've got like their game setup for player. And okay, we'll stay with it. The next thing that we need to do is to create game objects. And right now we got to create 2 players games object. And player 1 will be equal to paddle. So that's why we need the classes with the paddle with that we are going to have right there. So we are going to create that paddle with. Also, player 2 is paddle, and here screen with minus paddle with, we can with and minus, I know, paddle with as well as the second argument, because we don't want to touch the screen in the left or right corner. The last thing that we need to create the object is the ball. And right now we created our three objects. We are not drawing them, they are not working as it should, but don't worry, we are going to do that as well. The next thing will be our game loop. And here we'll make the running, of course, this will be for true. And clock, Pygame, because we need that. Time, not clock. And there, whenever we are going to create a loop, so we are going to while running, so while it's true. And we are going to get through the events in the Pygame. So if for event in Pygame, that event that get, and there we are going to need if event that type is equal to Pygame that quit, we are going to make running equals to false. So first of all, we are creating some kind of secure backup that whenever we are would like to go out from our Pong game, we can close our loop and everything will stop and will not make some kind of freezes or something in that manner. Okay, so we need also the keys that we are going to check for the players. So player 1 will move with the key like up and down, and the second player, for example, can make like W and S as inside the game or another way. It's up to us how we are going to assign that keys, but I will show you how you can do that. So Pygame dot key dot get and press, and that's all that we need to got inside our keys. So if keys, so our Pygame keys is like Pygame dot okay, so our keyboard up, so our move up arrow, player 2, for example, we'll just change order, move up. So that's all that we need to know if our player is moving up. The same, we are creating like 4 times. So that's the first one. Oh, come on. We need to check. Okay. Copy, paste, paste, and paste. Okay, it's over there. It's not up, but right now we are going down. So player 2 move down. The same here. Okay, W is move up, but player 1 also here. Player 1 move down, but with the key not up, but key with S. And whenever someone will click S, our player will go down. So we created the logic of pressing our buttons. Okay, whenever we've got our press buttons logic, we need also our ball to move. And that's all that we need to move our ball. Okay, but right now we need to check the score of the ball. So if ball from X is smaller or equal 0, then who's got the score? Because right now we are creating the score points. So right there, player 2 going to have a score, so plus equals 1. And we reset our ball, so it will go to the middle of the screen. Only if the ball that x is smaller or equal with the screen width, screen width, we are going to have the player 1 score plus equal 1. Also, we are going to reset our ball. That's the only case that right now the players got the score. Okay, but we need also some more logic, because whenever we hit something, we need to create some kind of collision logic, and it's more complicated, because right now we are going to check if ball from x is smaller than player 1.x plus player 1 width and ball.x plus ball size is equal from player 1x and ball.y is smaller than player 1y and plus player 1y plus player 1 height and ball that y is plus ball size is larger than player 1 that y, then ball that speed from the x is the multiplication of -1, so times -1. Okay, so whenever we are going to create the same logic, but of course for the another player, so whenever it touches the player 2 paddle, we need to just change it. Player 2 width, player 2, player 2, player 2, player 2, it's our paddle. Remember, we are still there. There is something like, okay, player 2, we also change there. Don't worry if you are lost there with that logic and you not to want to type it. I will provide the whole code in the description section where you can copy, paste, and read some more about that code whenever you prefer that way. Ball, that speed is like before, times -1. Okay, and we've got our logic to, if our ball touches the end screens, and our score will be added, and whenever our player paddle will touch the ball, so the direction of our ball will also be changed. Right now, whenever we got whole logic of our players or of our ball, right now the only thing that we need to do is to create our screen inside the Pygame. So screen that fill with the black color, because we are going to paint it black at the surface. The next thing, we are going to have player 1 draw screen. Also we need player 2 draw screen. Okay. The next thing we need to Pygame.draw that circle. And as you know, what is a circle? Circle is our ball. So inside the screen, we are going to have white, the ball, and we need ball X, ball Y, and also the ball size that we just recently provided at that constants over there. Okay, going back to our code. Oh, I misspelled that. Circle. Okay. So right now we need to get the score. Whenever we get the points, we need to change that score. So player 1 score text equals score font dot render string player 1 score, because we need to that, true and white, plus the color of our display screen. Then we need to get to the screen.bleed, and here we are going to have player 1 score text, and when we are going to provide it screen width 4 and 10 as a second argument. The same thing we need to create with the player 2 score. So the only thing that we need to change is that player 1 to player 2. Of course, we need that screen bleed as before, but here we'll change it to times before, because it's the value when our player 2 scroll will display. And believe me, that's the way in our screen, and most of the resolution, the screen sizes that you are going to create, it should work with that calculations. Pygame that display that flip, and here we are going to lock that tick, and our tick will be at the FPS. So how many frames per second we are going to create there, and if our game will finish, we'll make Pygame.quit. Okay, and right now check if everything is going to work. Okay, and it's working as it should. Just tell me, will be their point? Yep. But I need that point also for the player 1. And as you can see, everything's working. I know that we've got like secure coding is not enabled for that state. But remember that Pong game we created for our learning purposes and also for the purposes of having fun whenever you are, for example, bored in some lessons. You know that you've got possibility to run only a code editor, and that's how you can easily play with your friends at that Pong game, and you can change the level, the speeds of the paddle, make it paddle smaller, you can adjust the screen, it's up to you, you can change a lot of them over there. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will just pause it right now, and our screen is inside the Python editor, and I hope to see you at